All right, welcome to the Creation to Cash Flow podcast. On this podcast, we discuss strategies to maximize your creativity and help you achieve financial freedom. Hi, Michelle.
Hello.
How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
I'm so good. I am so lucky to do this podcast with you every week because we, at this point, are working or on some sort of meeting together for like 10 hours a week, it feels like.
No.
But for some reason, this still just feels like a fun break and nothing more than a blessing. And I'm so grateful for it.
Same. I feel the same exact way.
This is number 73. Are
Wait,
you?
it's 73.
Yeah.
That's funny. Okay. I titled it 72. Listen, we have our strengths. Nick's strength is knowing what we're doing and having a plan. It's wonderful.
It's funny because my strength, you've implied that you don't ever know what we're doing, but you know more than you think you do. It's just the number. You got it wrong. No big deal.
Okay, thank you. You're just trying to make me feel better.
You at least know what we're talking about today, which is honestly not typical. Sometimes I'm surprising you with that as well.
That's true. But this one is so good that it was something that we were both like, this is what we have to talk about.
Yeah, we are doing part two of beating shiny object syndrome because, I mean, to us, we're like, oh, we just talked about that. But it was our first episode. It was 72 episodes ago, which is crazy because we do them once per week. So 72 weeks ago, we talked about shiny object syndrome, and we're like, is it okay to talk about this again? But it definitely is because a lot of people, a lot of listeners, we probably picked up along the way. Maybe they didn't start from episode one, or maybe you just need to hear this stuff again. I mean, it's going to be fresh information because we're now 72 weeks wiser and probably don't remember exactly what we said last time anyway. But this is a topic that, oh my God, it's coming up more and more lately.
Yeah, it comes up a lot, but I think especially right now because there are so many different things people can do and there's so many people posting online about this is what you need to do or this is what you need to do. And so it's overwhelming. Even for me, it is so overwhelming.
There's just so much happening right now in the world. It's crazy. And twice in the last 24 hours I have said to people that like you need to remember that the internet was not even a thing 20 years ago because almost everyone's shiny object syndrome, it's not coming from the time they spend in nature connecting with themselves or going to the gym or doing the good things for you. It's just when you're on your devices.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, let's just, I guess first we'll talk about like what is shiny object syndrome because not everyone knows the term. How would you define shiny object syndrome, Michelle?
Oh, it's whenever you don't stick to something because you think something else is going to be better and you keep jumping from thing to thing and letting that distract you from actually doing one thing really well.
Yeah, that's a perfect definition. And it's called shiny object syndrome because it literally is like when you're doing something and you're like, "Oh, that's shiny. What is that?" Like I picture someone that's like, I don't know, mining for coal. And coal is not shiny. Coal is kind of black and stinky. But like you're mining for coal and then you see something shiny and you're like, "Oh, let me go try and get that." And then you see something else shiny and you're like, "Oh, that one looks bigger. Let me get that one." And then next thing you know, like at the end of the day, you're like, "I'm being paid to mine coal and I didn't get any coal. I got all these weird shiny things." And that's not what my mission is. That's what I picture. I literally picture someone mining and seeing something shiny.
That is such a good analogy. I'm laughing because I'm actually seeing what you're seeing. And it's funny because it's like, okay, you have this one thing in front of you that you need to mine. And if you go mine a little bit and then the thing isn't really as shiny as you thought it was, so then you move on to the other shiny thing, then you've only mined a tiny, tiny bit and barely scratched the surface of this coal or whatever. And at the end of the day, you're like, I did so much, but I got nothing done.
That's such a good way to put it. I did so much, but I got nothing done.
I feel that way quite often, to be honest. That's me all the time, which is why I have to put down to-do lists so I actually like remember what I have to do.
Yes, and I mean, it's okay because it's human nature to have some shiny object syndrome. Like maybe you're supposed to be doing laundry and then you open up the fridge and you're like, "Oh my god, I forgot I made empanadas." And then you're heating up an empanada and then you're like, "Oh, well, maybe I should make iced tea to go with this." And then you make iced tea and next thing you know, like your clothes are dry. You were supposed to fold them while they were hot and you didn't because you got distracted. Like it's human nature that this is going to happen, but it's not human nature to be completely unaware of this and let it derail your life. That's not what we want. So we're going to break down how to make sure that doesn't happen.
Yeah, and I do want to just also say if you have ADHD, you probably have this. Like, not because I'm claiming that you have it or like people that don't have it are any better, but it's one of those things where it is like we kind of see what's in front of us, then we can get hyper focused on something. So it's so natural for me to have shiny object syndrome. It's so hard to finish something. Like, I have so many ideas, and then I like what you just described with like the fridge or the laundry or whatever. There's so many ADHD videos about that where we have like a glitch that ADHD people do where we're walking to one room and then we kind of like stall and then we're like, "Oh, let's go over here." It's so real. Like it's funny, but it's like, "No, this is real." So, let's talk about how to fix it or how to start working through it and get a little bit better so that we can be more productive.
Yeah, I love it. And every time you say that, it makes me think like I feel like I have some of this too. Like that empanada example was like yesterday. Not that wasn't random. Like that was my life.
Oh my gosh, really? I do not picture that with you. I picture you being like, you have everything together, like you are just like very organized, very streamlined. And I'm sure there's levels to it. And I think every human, even if you don't have ADHD, has some form of this, but it's just really funny picturing you doing that.
Yeah, it happens to me all the time. Like this morning I copied a Loom link, I think, that I was supposed to send to Mike. And then I opened up Slack and then I saw like a notification in Slack. And then I was like, oh my God, I got to answer that. That seems important. And then I did that and I was like, oh, but I got to go check something on school to answer that. And next thing you know, I'm like, I was just supposed to send something to Mike. And here I am distracted by something else. So you're right. Like there's levels to it and it's going to happen. And now we're going to get into things you can do. First, first we got to identify, do you suffer from this? Because we all have it. Like it was not that big a deal that I was 15 minutes late to fold my laundry yesterday because I don't care if all of my clothes are wrinkled. But there are other, like in a business or when chasing a big goal, this can be detrimental.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Oh, when I made my online course, that was the most consistent. I had not had shiny object syndrome because I had to force myself to not allow anything in my head so I could just get the stuff done. It was so difficult, but it was such a growth moment. So, yeah, like if you want to execute anything, you're so right, Nick. Like it can be detrimental if you let the shiny object syndrome really impact your decision making every day.
Yes, and on big projects, you and I both do well at avoiding this because honestly, it's hard to be a successful entrepreneur if you get too bad of shiny object syndrome. But like me and Michelle are working on something really fun behind the scenes that we can't talk about quite yet, but we're doing a great job at staying on track. And one thing that helps is that we're working on it together. We are holding each other accountable to be like, hey, let's talk at this time. Let's make sure we have this much done. Let's get this much done during our meeting, and then let's go meet again and keep doing that.
Yeah, it takes an idea that we have into, okay, we're doing it together. So now we have to show up and we have it on the calendar, which is something that you're really good at. My calendar, I have stuff to do, but I try not to put it on my calendar. But it's just like when I know something is, I will show up and I will do it. And so I think that's like a really good place to not start, but it's just something good to like bring up because don't underestimate the power of like laundry on your calendar, creative thinking, editing, like anything you have to do, add it to a calendar so you like show up for it.
Yes, and one thing I've been telling people to do as well, I've been telling them to do this for a while, but with all the shiny object syndrome talk, it's been coming up a lot lately. Schedule time to work on yourself. Schedule rest time. Schedule time for a nap if you know you're going to need a nap. That way you don't have to feel guilty about it. And put in like breath work or going to the gym or taking a 15-minute walk. Put it in your calendar so that it gets done, because a lot of shiny object syndrome takes away from us working on ourself, because there's so many things on the to-do list that you've got nothing on the to-be list.
Talk about the to-be list just in case people have not heard that yet.
So we all know what a to-do list is. And during our live event in San Diego, I went extensively into this. I'll give you guys the short version, but we all have a to-do list, and we all know that you can't beat your to-do list. It will keep filling up with stuff, and it doesn't leave any room for you to work on yourself. So before you make your to-do list in the morning, you should make a to-be list and take a moment and just decide consciously, who am I going to be today? And I like to pick 5 things and write, I am going to be blank today. Not I want to be, I am going to be, and just set the tone for your day. If you really struggle with shiny object syndrome, if every morning you write to yourself, I am going to stay focused today, over time, that's actually going to retrain the characteristics that make you you.
Yeah. And you have to do this before anything else gets in your head. Like you have to wake up, no distractions, no phone, no nothing, no noise, no outside noise. Wake up and say, like Nick just gave an example, but like for Wednesdays, I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a leader because we have our calls with brands meet creators. I'm going to be productive. I'm going to be present. Like these are little things, but it's so simple, but it's so impactful to start your day with those things in mind because that's not my everyday. There are days where I'm like, I'm going to be relaxed today and I'm like going to the pool because I need a break or something. And so it's just like set your intention every day. I love that. It's such good advice. I'm so glad you brought that up.
And another very similar thing you guys can do too to just start making changes, write down everything you're working on and putting energy into, and make a long list. Here's all the things that I'm trying to do. And just having the list in front of you, you will be like, oh my God, I guess I do have shiny object syndrome, because you will see that you've probably got more on your plate than you can handle. And you're not going to be able to truly succeed at any of those things if you're trying to do all of those things.
Yeah, and I think that going back to the thing where people online are like, "Oh, you have to get on TikTok Shop. Oh, you have to be an Amazon influencer. Oh, you have to start a business." Like these things that people are saying, they're real. They are working for those people. But those people probably weren't doing 10 different things at one time. So we feel like, okay, well, this TikTok shop thing isn't working out. I've been doing it for 5 months. Like, let me just pivot and like do something else. But it's almost one of those things where it's like there is a certain time frame you should be sticking to something. Nick and I have talked about it in the past. In the past, one of our first episodes, it might have even been shiny object syndrome, where we talked about a good time to reevaluate what you're working on is like a 9-month period. Kind of like how it takes 9 months to grow a baby, it could take 9 months to build a business or to grow your social media. It could take 20 months. I don't know. But no matter what, if you look at leaders, if you look at the people who have what you want, I'm telling you, they have learned how to overcome shiny object syndrome to the best of their ability. Because even for something simple like growing social media, I I was on Instagram. Instagram was not working. Like it kept not posting my videos a couple years ago. So then I got on TikTok, and my TikTok blew up. And my TikTok was growing, but my Instagram was slacking. So last year I got back on Instagram. And it's like I didn't try to do both. I didn't try to grow both. I didn't try to do two things at once. I gave my energy and everything to like one platform and then got it to where I wanted it to be. And then I pivoted. So even if you have to put something down that seems so real and like so promising, it doesn't mean you're putting it down forever. So like just relieve yourself of that like FOMO or the feeling that you're leaving opportunity on the table, because really you're smashing your opportunity by trying to grab both.
Yeah. And the 9-month rule, the reason me and Michelle came up with that, because I don't think 6 months is enough to truly commit to something and say, have I put enough time and effort into this to decide if it's working or if I should do something else? I don't think 6 months is enough. And I think a year is too scary for people to commit to. Realistically, like Michelle said, it could take 2 to 3 years. It could take 25 years to accomplish a big goal, but you have to put at least 9 months before you can even start to look at what you're doing and say, am I wasting time? Am I working in the most effective manner on the most important project that I could possibly work on? I think that's a great timeline to just commit to. So if you're listening to this and you've been trying to be a content creator for 2.5 months and you're ready to quit, you have shiny object syndrome. I'm sorry to diagnose you with such a serious ailment, but good news is that the cure is keep pushing for another 6.5 months because things take time, and anything that's actually worth doing takes time and effort. That's why I also always say the tallest mountains have the best views, but caveat to that, they also have the hardest hikes to get up.
Yeah, and I do so everything we're saying, there's nothing that's definitive in any of our advice, right? Like there are always different scenarios, right? So we're like, it depends is one of our favorite things that people ask us for things, and we're like, it depends. Like there's no like black or white, right or wrong. So I do want to bring this up because I think it's important that whenever you're hitting a ton of tension and doors are literally closing in your face, but you're trying to force them back open, you're trying to force this thing to continue because you're trying to stick to the 9 months, or usually it's not that. Usually it's because you see other people having success and you're like, I could do it too. Let me just try. But your TikTok shop gets shut down or you get violations or like all these things keep coming your way and you just feel so defeated. I would use that as an opportunity to truly reflect and be like, is this the right path for me? Am I choosing this because it's what I want to do? Or am I choosing this because I know it works for others and it's making me miserable? And I'm just forcing myself to try to grow this baby, quote unquote. But like you have to ask yourself that because I would say majority of the time stick with it, especially if it's UGC. If it's something that's not in your control, like how your videos perform or what sales you get or what calls you book, whatever, that's not always in your control. But you are in control of what you're focusing on. And if you're focusing on something that's making you miserable and doesn't feel aligned with who you are and what you want to be doing, then I would reevaluate sooner. I don't know. What do you think about that?
Yeah, you're so right. Like our 9 month rule, there are going to be exceptions. Like if you're doing something and you just absolutely hate it and you know it's out of alignment and it's hurting you more than it's helping you, I mean, sure, you've got to use your own judgment and call it quits. But the reason like we're mentioning the 9 month rule is because people's tendency is to give up on things too early. There are scenarios where that's going to be justified, right? Like if you start a new job and 2 weeks in, maybe it's highly dangerous or you're not qualified or you know that like definitively this is not going to be a good fit for you, I would tell you to stick it out longer. I don't think 2 weeks is enough time to know that, but realistically, you still have to make the decision at the end of the day. You might be like, no, I mean, this is an exception, but as long as you're aware that shiny object syndrome is a thing, and with the internet, we all have it to some degree and are all trying to manage it and keep it at bay, even just the awareness of that, you're going to be in better shape than most people because you will have a tendency to commit to things longer than most, and that's all that it takes to succeed these days. Like the greatest threat to your success is not failure, it is distraction.
Yeah. Wow. It's so crazy. I just had so many memories flash in my brain, but I think that too, like if it's not putting you in harm's way and you're just afraid of missing out or you're not sure how it's going to work and you have fear that's driving you to the decision of quitting, then I would say like you're never going to regret doing something so uncomfortable outside of your comfort zone, growing in that aspect. Like you will grow more probably if you are sticking to something that is so outside of your comfort zone, so outside of what you're used to because you're learning something new, you're expanding your brain and your creative potential, and that is honestly like some of the best decision making skills, decision making opportunities that you can have in your life, especially like with UGC. I do see a lot of people just like trying and then quitting completely. And I'm like, wait, don't quit completely. Like, if you still want to do this, there's like other avenues. There's Amazon, there's TikTok, there's LTK, there's blog writing, there's YouTube, long form content, there's podcasting. Like, there's so many different things that you can do still within the realm. And it might look different than that one thing that you saw on TikTok that like everybody's doing to get money. And so, pivot. Don't quit completely. You can always pivot a little, we pivot a lot, you know, and it's natural to pivot as long as you just keep remembering like you're going to trust your gut and your instincts, and you're going to do what you said you're going to do because that will help build your confidence.
Yes, 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 and yes. I also want to bring up, we definitely talked about this in the first episode. This is Alex Hormozzi's concept, learning and earning phases.
We have podcast episodes about this. I think we have titles, like 2 different episodes about that specifically.
I think we do, and I recommend you go listen to them. You have to look at yourself honestly and say, am I in a learning phase or an earning phase? Because most shiny object syndrome, it is around ways to make money. It doesn't happen like, sure, it happened to me with like cooking yesterday and laundry, but that's not that detrimental. Everyone's fine. It's not that big a deal. I got hungry and got distracted and I wanted to eat. But when it comes to business ideas and concepts, you have to ask yourself, am I in a learning phase or an earning phase? Because if you are in a learning phase and you are so focused on how much money you're making, your shiny object syndrome is going to tell you, this is not working. We need to try something else. But you just haven't put in the time to learn and become a master yet. You have to be the clumsy beginner before you can be the graceful master. But everyone wants to make $1 million today, and that will fuck you up mentally. Honestly, that will absolutely destroy you if you are too focused on how much money you are making and not what are you learning every day and what lessons did you get from the day that you can apply tomorrow to get just 1% better per day.
Yeah. A lot of people emphasize, and I get it. I think we're kind of like taught this, or we romanticize the little effort, lots of money thing, but that's really not what life is about. And it's so satisfying to work hard at something and then see results and not just be handed things. And it's quite beautiful. Like, I would not want my life to have been that I was born into a very wealthy family and I was handed everything. Like, that's not my story at all. Like, we didn't have a lot and I wasn't given anything. When I graduated high school, I was on my own. Like, I didn't make it to where I am today because things were easy or handed to me, and I appreciate everything I have even more today. And that's why I can talk about these things, because I'm like, "Oh, I've done it." Like, I'm on the other side where I'm not a victim because I wasn't born into money. I'm not a victim because I wasn't handed things. Like, no, I'm actually strong. Like, we're all capable of doing anything that we are like setting our heart to. And I love encouraging people with that because I'm like, I did it. And I couldn't say that if I was just handed things. And you don't want to be handed the $1 million for no reason, because then you're just focused on the money and it's going to go away. And then you're still going to be not satisfied, because we all need something to work towards. We all need something to work on, especially our inner self, to feel purposeful, to feel like we're doing something and we have meaning in our life every day.
Oh my goodness. Rewind a couple seconds, re-listen to that, because I mean, money just will not make you happy. It will momentarily, and then you will get over it and you'll be like we see this all the time. Like, when are we going to actually listen to the celebrities that are like, I promise you, I'm depressed. My money did not solve any of my problems. My fame did not solve any of my problems. My life is not good. Like, when are we going to listen to the people that are shouting that from the rooftops and actually believe them and remind ourselves that all these shiny objects we are chasing will not solve the problems that we have? They will not excuse us from the inner work we have to do. And at the end of the day, it is still just going to be you and your thoughts. So, are you learning? Are you happy? Do you enjoy what you're doing? And if the answer is no, no matter how much money you are given or how many shiny objects you chase, because some shiny objects are shiny for a reason. Maybe you will have some short term success, but it is not going to change your life in the ways you think it will. I can't emphasize that enough. Like, people think how many followers I have has a huge effect on how I have become this like positive, confident version of myself, and it has absolutely nothing to do with that. It was the journey of getting those followers where I had to show up consistently and make videos that got 200 views 3 times a day for 11 months. That's what made me confident and happy and proud of who I was. And I was feeling that way before I had a bunch of videos start blowing up and I had a ton of followers. And I don't care if I lose my TikTok account in 25 minutes. I don't know why I said 25 minutes or right now. Not sure what's happening in 25 minutes, but I don't care if I were to lose my TikTok account right now. It has nothing to do with how happy I am or how valuable I know I can be to others or what brings me joy at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think that is huge. Having the ha- this is so cheesy, attitude of gratitude, like literally living with that grateful perspective where you see good and like you are working on yourself and you're happy. You need that now. You need that before or during or whenever. Like that is always going to be the foundation that you want to lay your life on and make your decisions based off of. So I like even me, I was going to go to college here in Los Angeles, but something kept pulling me back. And I look back and I'm like, oh my God, I was not ready because I was not like super grateful. I was positive, but I was like very kind of like bratty, I think, and I wasn't whole like as a person. And LA would have swallowed me whole. I don't know what would have happened, but I wasn't ready for LA, but it was always in my heart. And now I'm like, oh my gosh, I was finally ready for it. And then it came my way. I'm not happy because I live in a penthouse in Los Angeles. I was happy when I lived in a really tiny dark apartment in Covington, Louisiana. And it's like I just focused on what makes me happy and then put my attention towards that, which is the answer. If you're like, what do I focus on? Do what makes you the most happy right now. It can always change in the future, but like what makes you feel at peace and energized every day? And for me, it was just like making content and just doing like photography. And it's beautiful because it's just like, oh, if we just listen to our gut and then stuck with that thing, no matter how hard it gets, we're eventually going to end up where we wanted to be all along, but we're going to be happy the entire time, not only when we end up there.
Yeah, and you want to be so focused and so sure about that one thing that you will keep going no matter how many times you fail, right? Obviously, it's hard to be sure. Like, you might not know, is this going to work? You might not know that, but you have to know that you are going to do it until it works. And that might mean failing 45 times at whatever the business idea or thing is. But if you are so set on it, you will find everything you want in your life, and it will force you to do the inner work because you didn't just pivot to a bunch of shiny objects. Like, what I another thing I imagine that shiny objects syndrome looks like is, I guess, there's two ways to kind of get around. Like, are you on a jet ski or are you on a cruise ship? So if you're on a jet ski, like, sure, you might have some fun for a while chasing dolphins around. That's awesome. That's shiny object syndrome, though. Like, you're not going to actually catch a dolphin. Maybe somehow you do, but if you've ever been on a jet ski and if you've ever been near a dolphin, you're not going to actually catch them, but you might have some fun for a little bit. Eventually, you're going to get frustrated and pissed off, though, because you're like, this isn't working. And you could also be on a cruise ship and you are going to an island, and that island, like, that's the stuff you actually want. That island is where you can park and you can do the inner work and you can be happy. It is not going to be as fun, though. It's boring. Cruise ship is going to drive straight. The bigger the ship, the less it pivots. So it's not going to be as fun as, like, you're gonna be on your cruise ship and you're gonna see people around you and you're gonna be like, oh, they look like they're having so much fun on their jet ski. Look, and there's dolphins out there. And your brain is gonna be like, I should go do that. And being able to beat your shiny object syndrome is knowing how to ignore the people that are having fun on their jet skis, because you know eventually they're not going to have anything to show for it. And you're on your cruise ship and you are going, and you're going straight. And you're not making turns every time you see a whale or a dolphin or a shiny object. You know that you're going straight and you're going for this destination and you're going to get there faster.
Gosh, I just love that. I just like picture a cruise ship and then people on jet skis next to it, and you are like, wow, they're having fun, but they're going to get exhausted, they're going to get tired, they're going to want to stop doing that and go to a different form of boat. And it's like every time you stop and want to get on the jet ski, it's like picture $1 million sitting on the island waiting for you, and you're just like prolonging that $1 million, like grabbing it every time you stop and try to take a little detour, a little day trip on a jet ski. Like It's so crazy how limited we are in our time here on earth. It's so cool though, because then it's like we get to decide what to focus on so we can show for something after we're gone and like leave some type of legacy. But if we're just like running around doing whatever we think looks fun that other people are doing, I don't know. I just think it's so powerful to really try to overcome this. But the way that it works for me, Nick, is I have to tell myself it's not forever. Like when I got onto TikTok, I didn't delete my Instagram. I was just like, I'm going to step away temporarily. Like, I'm going to see you later. And it ended up being like a year later that I finally got back on it. Not because I put a timeline on it, because I was like, I feel like it's time. I feel like it's time to now go back. So glad that I did that, by the way. Even though a couple days ago I got a message, my account got banned on Instagram, like completely suspended. It took my whole Instagram down. And I had this moment, and it's again, I think I talked about this, right? Where I was like, okay, well, what can I do about it? Okay, I'll just go on TikTok shop. Like, it's okay. I wasn't devastated. I wasn't hyperventilating. I was just like, that is a sign. That is one of those instances where it's like, well, that's a closed door. Like, yeah, I appealed it. Thank God it came back. But it's like, those things sometimes aren't even in our control, but we can control how we react and where we pivot to.
Yeah, that's such a good example because like we see people when we meet people and these people, I mean, they're amazing people and they just haven't listened to Creation to Cash Flow yet, honestly, but like they buy a TikTok account. I've seen this probably 25 times. They buy a TikTok account, they start posting, and then that account gets banned. And this all happened over a 2 week period. And the emotional reaction from them, like they're freaking out, like as if life has ended. And it's like, oh my God, like that is just so not the way to live because it's just a sign that either one, that is just your first failure and you need to get used to that because any business journey you are going to fail many times, you're going to have those roadblocks, or like Michelle said, if it keeps happening and you're getting clear signs that that door is closed, that's when it's time to make a pivot, not to quit, but to make a little pivot and to know that shiny object syndrome is a thing and just have the honest conversation with yourself. Just write one page in your journal and be like, I'm seriously considering pivoting right now. I want to make sure it's not shiny object syndrome and just have a little conversation with yourself and be like, what is in alignment with where I want to be 6 months, 2 years, and 10 years from now?
Going back to the whole thing, like the account gets taken down, because we do see that a lot with people that decide to go this other route rather than just like building their personal brand on their own TikTok. And I think as leaders, Nick, you and I can even be more upfront about expectations, because I think if they're just expecting it's going to work out, then yeah, I would be so devastated too, especially if I wasn't used to things like this happening and I put money into buying an account, even if it was only $20. Like, it's like I invested in that and then it didn't give me the return that it gave others. It would upset me if I didn't have an expectation of like, this could happen, just so you know. And I think we do always disclose that, but it's almost like the people, this is such a random example, but I know there are a lot of mom listeners on this podcast too. But one of my friends is pregnant and has a baby shower registry, and her friend does too. And her friend just had her baby shower and was so upset that not everything was purchased. But my friend was like, well, don't put stuff on there that you aren't going to go buy yourself. Like, yeah, it's nice if people can purchase this for you, but don't get devastated and feel like a victim if things don't get purchased. Like, if you're not able to purchase it yourself, then just don't put it on the registry at all so that you're not upset if things aren't purchased. And it kind of reminds me of that, because it's all about expectation. Like, what are you expecting to happen? And I think that you need to write that down whenever you have a goal. Write down your expectations and make them realistic.
And write down that there are going to be bumps in the road because I just feel like we forget this. We set a goal, and like we've all seen the corny memes that are like what you think goals look like, and it's a straight line, and then what it actually looks like, and there's like a fire and a guy stuck on a spike and like a mountain to climb. But like we forget ourselves that when like in the face of something bad happening, that's just one of those moments. Like in that little picture where the guy falls in the pit of fire, it's like, well, yeah, that was, weren't you expecting that? Like, did you not see it coming that you're going to have difficulties and you're going to fail and you're going to have to question things and you're going to have to do the inner work that's hard that you've been ignoring?
I think that it's something that has to be taught. Cause like in school, for example, I knew if I go to college and I get my 4 years in and I get my degree, I'm gonna get a job. And it's like, yeah, some people still struggle with that, but it's almost like I kind of had an expectation for everything to work out because it does, like, because that is more streamlined. But when you're doing something that's on your own business, and you're creative, which is like in itself always going to be ever changing no matter what field you're in. It's like there has to be that communication of, hey, it's not streamlined like going to college and getting a degree and working for a company that did all the road or the, yeah, like speed bumps in the road. Like they did it for you and then hired you to just come in and do a job, not have to go through all those things. But as a business owner, you have to go through that. Like oh my God, so many things have come up to where I'm so unbothered now when something happens. I'm like, oh, all right, let's figure it out. What do we need to do to figure it out? Like all is well. I'm not dead. So everything's gonna be okay. Like let's just move on. And I think that needs to be very normalized and almost over communicated because it is easy to forget when you're so used to and conditioned to see everything streamlined.
Yeah, it really it's so true. You know what's so funny? I was just having I just caught myself like having shiny object syndrome right now. I was like, you know what? I haven't posted on Twitter in a while. I reeled it in super quick. But like, I wouldn't have even said that if we weren't doing the shiny object syndrome episode. But I was like, I literally just got it because what you were saying was like, I was getting fired up. I was like, yeah, I could do more. Even like I should be posting on Twitter, and I was like, not right now.
Oh my
So just
gosh.
know that like that's what it looks like. It
Yeah.
is sometimes like having an idea and it's a great idea. Like, should I be posting on Twitter more? Yeah, probably. But that's people chasing dolphins on the jet ski. I'm on a cruise ship right now and I'm moving forward and I need to focus on that. So it's going to happen. And that's what it really looks like. There you go. Live look at shiny object syndrome. It is sometimes having an idea and being like, but picture the cruise ship and the jet ski thing and be like, am I really going to get off this cruise ship that's going to the destination I want to go, even though it's going slowly? And am I going to go ride around on a jet ski and now have nothing?
Yeah, and oh my God, this is so annoying how my brain works too. Because, like, as you're saying this, I'm like, okay, but there are times whenever you do need to, like, right now, for example, I need to hire somebody, I need to hire another assistant, I need to hire a video editor. So I'm like, sometimes I do need to pause or like slow down the cruise ship, which would be me creating content and coaching. I need to slow down a little so I can then find somebody that can help me then be a little faster on my cruise ship. Maybe I got a little accelerator for the cruise ship. Like I got off, went on my jet ski, found an accelerator, which would be my video editor, got back on the cruise ship. Now I can go a little faster towards my destination, but I had to take like a step back to pause to go faster or to go, whatever. So there are times when you need to do that, but that's the earning and learning. Like, I feel like when I'm learning, it does make me slow down on my earning, but it's like I only do things and spend time on things that are going to help me even better, like faster, more efficient, I should say, because faster isn't always better, but be more efficient on my journey. And so, yeah, every time you say, I'm so visual. I picture everything you're saying. And now I'm just like, oh, what's my video editor look like that's picking up my little accelerator?
That I think that visual is going to help a lot of people too to just start thinking like when you have one of these ideas or are thinking of pivoting, just picture that because sometimes like it is a good idea and you should explore it and it's not shiny object syndrome, but most of the time it's probably shiny object syndrome because you have to think like did I come up with that idea to make my cruise ship go faster or did I just see someone else doing it and think that's cool and want to do it? Like you didn't see like, oh, everyone else has a video editor, they're having so much fun. Like you're like, no, like this is you staying focused on the mission. And you're like, how can I get there even a little bit more efficiently? Even if I have to park the cruise ship for a moment, train someone, hey, how can we go a little bit faster here and keep going? You're moving in the same direction.
Exactly. And that is a huge question we get a lot is like, how do I know when to hire? How do I know when to do X, Y, and Z? When am I ready? And it's like, when I do hire somebody, I need to be set up to where I'm expecting to not have as much money coming in, which I did when I started my course a couple years ago. I think I lost like 10 grand in brand collabs because I was saying no so I could do my course. And yeah, I didn't get very much money from my course, but it was very fulfilling. So it was on my mission towards the island on my cruise ship. But it's like the question you need to ask yourself is the thing that you're wanting to do going to push a needle forward immediately, like pretty quickly? Or is it just one of those things that you could do in the future, you could wait to do, it's not going anywhere, and you can just continue down your path right now? And then when you do decide to take a little pause to hire somebody or to do something else, are you set up to have enough money coming in to where if that other thing you choose to do doesn't have money coming in immediately, you're not going to feel like you're missing out or that you regret your decision to pursue that thing?
This has been such an impactful episode. I want to go back and listen to the first version and just like hear how different our takes even are on it, because we always say this, we're not perfect people
No.
by any means. We're just trying to share lessons that have helped us, and they're oftentimes lessons we've been taught either by our mentors or the hard way. And if you are dealing with shiny object syndrome or anything else that you're like, I want you guys to talk about this, we do these AYQ episodes. This is not one of them, but we do episodes where we answer your questions. That's the A, the Y, and the Q. And if you maybe you have shiny object syndrome or maybe just something else you want us to talk about on an episode, just go to creation2cashflow.com. It's not the number two, it's TO, creation2cashflow.com, and leave us a voice memo. Tell us about the shiny objects you're struggling to deal with. We would love to advise you on those, because we do this podcast because we love helping you guys. We don't run ads. It's not a money grab. It's because we truly care and feel fulfilled helping other people. Because I mean, like we said, money doesn't make you happy. Like if someone handed me and Michelle each $100 million today, like we'll still see you Wednesday.
Yeah, we're still going to keep doing what we're doing because we love what we do, because we've come to a place where we're only really doing things we enjoy doing.
Exactly. So, Michelle, anything else that we need to hit on or re-summarize?
Listen to your gut, but don't let fear drive your decisions. Like, listen to what you feel like you should be doing and that will make you happy, but don't let the fear of wasting your time or the fear of not getting money or the fear of things aren't working out right now and it's only been 2 months. Don't let that stop you from continuing to listen to that inside of you, because we can't tell you what to do. We can't tell you which thing is right for you, but you working on yourself will help you understand and learn and hear what's right for you. So work on yourself, I think, is like the number one thing. Like the inner work literally produces everything else in your life.
It's everything. It is the most important thing. I think it's why we do this podcast. Like, sure, we love giving you serious strategic tips on like, here's how to grow your business, here's how to make better content. We love all of that stuff. But what we really love is helping you do the inner work and have those self awakenings to become the best version of yourself and maximize your creativity to achieve financial freedom.
Nice.
So, if you is it maximize your creativity or monetize your creativity?
Maximize.
Cool.
Wait, we will help you maximize. Oh, I think, oh God, I think it's maximize.
I bet I'd switch it up sometimes.
That is hilarious. It should almost be monetized though.
Look at that.
Monetize.
It's monetize.
I think it's what.
On my outline, it says maximize, and I'm realizing now that I bet I don't say the same thing every intro. Sometimes we're maximizing your creativity, sometimes you're monetizing it.
That is so funny. Well, it's kind of the same thing, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm probably the first person to pick up on that. We'll see what comes out next time. Oh my God, wait. At the top of my page, it says maximize, and at the bottom, it says monetize.
Listen, we're helping you guys do both.
Yes, we are. And if you want to watch us have these realizations and watch me battle my own shiny object syndrome live, check us out on YouTube and at Creation to Cash Flow on Instagram and TikTok, and you can watch the short form clips. Go show us some support on there. That's your mission for today, because we're trying to get our TikTok followers up and our Instagram followers up and our engagement. So if you love the show, but you don't follow there, you're missing out on all the updates, and you're missing out on the short form clips where you can watch me sneeze and fidget and do all the funny things, as well as give you guys amazing advice. So you don't want to miss that. You got to go follow Creation to Cash Flow.
Oh, also, by the way, I know you don't use Spotify, but did you know Spotify has these little things where you can make comments on every episode and we can reply to those comments? Like people can comment on any episode on Spotify. And in the moment, we can literally get comments and reviews on each individual episode. It's under like you click on the episode and then it has all the comments. So, guys, if you use Spotify like me, leave us a comment. I would love to see your comment.
Wow. I don't know if I do you have access to that? I guess we put them on Spotify,
It's
so we have it.
everybody has access. It's not a private comment. It's a live real like it's almost like a social media thread. Like we would see people's comments on their Instagram. It's literally the same thing on Spotify.
Wow.
Yeah, just saying.
So there you go. You guys have a bunch of things you can do to support the show, and that's really all we ask. Like we love getting your voice memos and making episodes for you. That's a great way to essentially get your money's worth from the show, but go follow our accounts and go leave us those 5-star reviews and drop comments and things because we do it for you guys. So if you're loving it, but you're just lurking, we don't even know you love it. And we'll cancel the show if you don't show us some
Oh
love.
my gosh, so dramatic.
So with that said, also go follow Michelle at MichelleJH, Michelle with 2 L's, 4 E's, JH, and follow me, Get Ahead with Nick. We love you guys so much, and thanks for listening.